All right. Hi, everybody. This is the Santa Barbara County Road Race. Obviously, it is not the beginning of the race. As you can see here, this is about halfway through. We have completed 3 laps. We're currently on the 4th lap. You can see here I'm working with some guys to bring back a rider that had drifted off the front just briefly here. But to kind of give you a little bit of a background to, I guess, how we got to this point here in the race. We started and in very windy conditions. The winds kind of 15 to 20 miles an hour coming from northeast direction. So a lot of cross headwind sections. The road isn't particularly good either, so usually in those sections the field would split up quite a bit, and it was kind of chaotic. But we first started, and it started out pretty mellow. Everyone knew that it was so windy that we would basically be in for a long hard day, right? Little places to hide if there's a lot of crosswinds. So you can see here we brought it back a little bit here. The guy in the USA Stars and Stripes kit, that's Corey Lockwood. He ended up eventually winning this race. So you can see here he's actually with us right now. There is a group up the road, but I'll get back to that in a second. So at the beginning of the race, we let one guy go. He just went solo. There's a guy from Santa Monica, Sbrr, and kind of the whole field was just happy to let one solo rider kind of dangle off the front. So almost the entire first lap was just super nice and mellow, really easy, which was good. It's a good way to start the race. Good way to warm up, and good way to kind of feel how all the corners are going to be, how what the headwind sections are, the crosswind sections are, stuff like that. So that was good. Once his lead kind of got up to around like the 4-minute mark, then we had some guys start launching kind of some counterattacks. This is kind of started the second lap. We had a kind of group of 3 guys go, and again the field kind of wasn't really that motivated. We ended up getting to this climb, so this is the start of the climb here, and again, field's not really motivated. I kind of worked my way to the front and kind of gave it one of the little like sneaky attacks where you lift the pace a little bit, and because everyone's kind of fanned out across the road, they're inclined to let you go, and then after you get a little bit of a gap, then you just kind of let it all hang out. So that's what I did that on the second lap. Burned quite a bit of matches doing that move, and I got a couple guys to come with me. Sheps was doing kind of a good job of slowing down the pace at the front of the field, so we ended up getting some separation. But ultimately it didn't really work out. We got close to the group of 3, didn't quite bridge up because the other 2 guys weren't really keen on working, either that or they just didn't have legs to help out with it. So eventually the field caught us again, and then a whole bunch of other strings of attacking and counterattacking started again. The crosswind section split some stuff up a bit, and eventually just after the crosswind on the 3rd lap, kind of a good strong group of 8 guys with like Corey Williams and Tyler Locke jumped up, and I was already kind of sitting on the front. So those guys went, and I was kind of like, well, if I respond now, it's the whole field that's gonna just be on my wheel. So I kind of let those guys go, hoping that Adam or Kenyon would be there to follow that attack and counter it, and that I would be in charge of shepherding the pace of the field. But that really didn't quite happen. So then Adam kind of gave me a quick go yell, and so then I tried my best to close that down. It didn't really work out. I got about maybe within 3 seconds of him, and I was on the limit, going at 30 miles an hour and just not making any progress. So eventually that petered out, and I almost emptied a lot of my matches in there. So that's how kind of the main group formed. And then as I was drifting back into the field, I thought it was really another group that was just kind of followed and came back behind me because there was only like 8 guys in it. So I was like, oh, okay, we got another chasing group. But I didn't realize that was basically what was all that was left of the peloton after that move. A couple guys caught up with us after that, but really the maximum it got to about was like 12 riders, and that's kind of where we are right now. So we got about maybe 12 guys. We're all chasing that lead group right now. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but when we were going up the climb, there's this white pickup truck, and that's the follow vehicle for the breakaway. So we were going up the climb. They really weren't that far away, about 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. I mean, close enough where you can definitely see them on the straightaways. So it was really kind of frustrating the whole time because, we're all so close to catching up to them, and, I'm pretty motivated to try to get up to them because, this is a big race, or at least, I want to do pretty well. It's one of the few road races in Southern California. So it was just really, really just like so close, just out of reach. And so when we're in this group, this chasing group, I'm already, you can see here, I'm almost at my max heart rate at 180, right? So I'm pretty toasted right now. I'm trying to just keep the pace going at, my thresholds around 360 or so, but you can tell I'm already kind of on the limit. So so we're just kind of keep it going. We're really trying hard to bring these guys back. But you'll notice later is that the field really, because this is quote unquote the peloton, we got a lot of guys, we had like 6 or 7 guys that are motivated to work and everything, but then, there's a lot of guys behind us that are just taking free rides. So here you actually see most of the group kind of filter through, right, as I'm kind of like, okay, I need a break, right? So I'm intentionally moving to the back, and you can see, you've got guys that are like, oh, okay, fine, we'll pull through now. But you get a lot of guys that were just sitting on the back before, and now you see this here where, this Santa Monica guy had been sitting on the back for a while, and then, gaps open up, and you're like, oh, shit, and so you gotta accelerate to get forward, and everyone else in the front is trying to accelerate to get away because they think there's dead weight. So it was really difficult to play any kind of games in here. It wasn't really that smooth. People were trying to get away because they thought, people were getting free rides, but at the same time, if you were doing work at the front, you wanted some breaks in the back. But if you ever drifted to the back, you risked, missing a move at the front or someone getting popped off the back. So here, there's a little bit of a gap. Justin and Corey are kind of helping bring it back, and so it was I would say frustrating to say the least, just because there was little unity between the whole group. Even though we're chasing everyone, basically for the win. Like I said, there were kind of 8 guys up the road, right? So it's all the money's up the road. All the major places are up the road, right? So we all should be pretty incentivized to work, but at the same time, if there's no one really working, then a lot of guys are like, well, why should I work? So here, Corey kind of lifts the pace a little bit, and I'm, take initiative, say like, well, okay, let's like at least need to try to bring this back. So kind of rev it up. You can see here almost 400 watts, now over 400 watts. And, getting there, you can see how bad that road surface is, just jumping around all over the place. I'm doing my best to try to, get behind him here. We're going basically into a crosshead right now, so it's pretty hard just to, I guess bring someone back. You could see he was only like a couple bike lengths ahead of me, but he was, I was at 400 watts for a while, so finally I get up to him, and then it's like, oof, okay, can rest a little bit, but, I didn't want to just sit on his wheel, so I come over the top, and I'm just like, okay, let's, keep it easy. You can see I'm at my limit, so pull over, and I'm like, okay, I'm done, let me take a break. Now we're hitting the downhill, and some of the other guys that I towed up were like, okay, so I'm starting to work a little bit better now. We're hitting the downhill. You can see it's just super bumpy road. but like I said, sort of like right here, only kind of, 6 guys pulled through, right? But I know there's, from the previous shot you saw there was probably 6 more guys that are sitting behind me right now, right? And they're just kind of hanging on, waiting for a free ride. And something you'll see later in the video that makes it even more frustrating is like, so we're all attacking each other, and that's basically slowing things down, because there'll be times where we go really fast and then we'll slow down because everyone's spent, right? And then the lead will grow back out again. But even when we did get some organization, I feel like because we were attacking each other so much that no one could really lift or keep the pace that was needed to bring that group back, right? So people would be yelling at each other to keep things smooth and not accelerate, but at the same time some people would just try to lift the pace so that it would be easier, or it'd be like on pace to bring that group back. So here you see Justin kind of go off the front, and he's just like, all right, I'm out of here, like screw all these guys taking free rides. So the Santa Monica guy tries to go, and then I'm like, oh crap, okay, well I gotta go with this now. So I'm out of the saddle sprinting 600 watts. I just had a little breather, maybe a minute breather, and now I'm back on, and I get back to him, and I'm like, okay, let's go, because you don't want Justin to go across. So I'm doing my best, sit back down. We're going on the downhill right now, so it's a little bit easier. So I'm just trying to keep speed high. We're at 33 miles an hour. Again, granted here, this is almost direct headwind, right? So it's just super rough. And I pull off and let some other people try to do the work to bring them back. You can see actually just ahead, at the little rise, you can see that white pickup truck again. So it's still pretty close, right? It's not that far out of reach. Anyways, so here, and then like I said, here it's like, guys are pulling off left, guys are pulling off right. It's not terribly organized, and now we get to this little rise here, and now we're surging at the front, and so it's like, okay, I had to do a little dig over 400. You can see Justin just off the front there. Again, the GoPro really kind of makes things in the distance look a lot farther away than they are. It's just from the wide angle lens, that's kind of that effect, right? So he's really not that far. He's, maybe a second or so. And you can see here he's sitting up, taking a drink of his bottle. So he kind of realized he made the move, but then didn't get anyone to go with him initially. And now it's just a headwind, right? So he's just kind of like, okay, let me just wait and check it again. Again, you can see if you look very close in the distance, you can see that white pickup truck. Again, that's the main group, right? That's the winning group right now. Eno was started in this, and then it jumped across just before we started the video, so he's already up there. But like I said, Corey's still in here, right? So there's still, there's still plenty. The guy that ended up winning ended up coming from here, right? So it's not out of the question to win from this group, right? You can see the SoCal guy just attacked right there, trying to bridge across, and this is kind of again what I'm saying, where we had a kind of a good spell of working together. People were working. Me and Santa Monica are trained pulls, but again, it's only a couple guys, and then someone will attack and go over the top, and then it's like, crap. So now it's up to me. So I go up, probably basically threshold to get him back, and now I'm easing up because I'm like, okay, I know they're slowing down. Okay, we got him, So now I'm just drifting onto the back, and that's another thing too, is that kind of a better move to do is once you look ahead and you see that you're going to catch somebody, you're going to catch up with the field, you don't need to keep the power on all the way up to get to them and then all of a sudden have to hit your brakes or just immediately hit the wind, right? You see there I was judging my speed and looked in front, and then I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get there. So I eased off the gas and kind of just did the minimum amount of work I needed to get on the back. So again, I get behind him, and I don't want to just sit on, right? So I go to the front, pull through, and now I'm pulling off the gas. I'm like, all right, let's get some other people to go through here. Come on, let's go. Again, this is still a pretty tough headwind section, right? So you look at it and we're like, we're only going 23 miles an hour, but it's a little, falls flat and also into a headwind, right? So just a long, tough stretch right here. but you can see here, okay, it's like, okay, we're getting more people to pull through, and I'm excited about it, and it's, a little bit smoother, and now I get accelerate to get on the back of the train because someone opened the gap, right? So now I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is the spot I have to slide in, so accelerate. And so I get on the back, and now it's like, okay, you can kind of relax. You're freewheeling a little bit. You see, we're resting, so quote unquote resting. But at the same time, it's pretty imperative that we keep the power going and just keep the momentum. See, we're trying to echelon. You can tell that the wind's coming kind of from the northeast, so it's coming from the right side. And again, another thing about this course is that it's really exposed, especially in the areas where it's like a header crosswind. There's really no trees or buildings or mountains, right? To help shelter you from the wind, right? So it's pretty brutal. Here, this road's actually pretty nice, so it wasn't that bad to echelon. And looking at this footage right now, you can see it's like, we were doing okay, as far as working together and keeping at least a good turn of pace going, right? It's a little downhill now, heading up into the turn where we're going on the crosswind, but still, right? So we had that good turn, and then now you can look in front and you can see, well, Justin's off the front again, right? So now it's like, okay, well, are we going to chase him back? So people are like, well, do I really want to work that hard to chase him back? Do I want to bridge across? So we keep it going here. Again, taking advantage of kind of the downhill, so we're getting up to like 37, 38. Keep in mind the all headwind still, and shoots down, and then we have this immediate uphill here, right? So we took our momentum in as a group, and we're chasing Justin down pretty easily, but here's where it kind of gets tricky because now people are trying to get out of saddle and work really hard, right? So now it's like, okay, well, now we got to go up to like 400, 500 watts. Everyone's out of the saddle, working really, really, really hard. And that just kind of kills a lot of the cohesion, right? Before we were kind of pulling through around 300, 350, having a nice rest, and now everyone just kind of did a huge dig for 20 seconds, right? And now go to the front again and pull off, and you can see that now it's a little bit less organized, right? You get some guys that pull through, but it's not really as fast. See, there's that big gap, right? So it's like, oh, and that was Justin who we just caught, right? So he slotted in there to fill that gap, but a lot of guys were hesitating here, and other guys that are really hurting are also knowing that this turn's coming up where we're going to hit a crosswind, right? So that's why there's that little gap, right? You didn't see me move over immediately because I'm looking over my shoulder being like, hey, come on, let's go. And I just get a lot of guys shaking their head and doing stuff like that. So it was a little frustrating, but they're doing their best to try to save energy for after this turn where we head into the crosswind section. So, yeah, this is, like it or not, it's just after halfway through the race, and I'm already pretty tired, and you still know you gotta, to go up above the climb a couple more times, and you gotta deal with this crosswind more, and it's just rough. But here's actually a pretty, just looking back at this video, this, I guess, section, along the straight for this lap wasn't too bad as far as, cohesion right here. But you can see again right here, it's Justin kind of is surging off the front a little bit there. He wants to get into the turn in front position, and basically make sure he's not caught out of position going into that crosswind. So that's another thing too, is that if you're in the back of the group here after this turn, you got to sit on for a little bit, and it's a downhill into this turn, but just like after any turn, right? You turn in, you break in if you're in the back, and then at the end you have to sprint out of it, right? So here we take the turn. It's really not that bad, but you see everyone's kind of going full gas out of it. So 600 watts just to get it back on the wheel. And you can see immediately try to position myself to protect myself from that crosswind, right? So I'm on Corey's wheel and just trying my best just to ride that slipstream, right? So, going 250, which is, okay, not terrible. And some of the guys are now, Justin's doing his best to coach everybody to, let them know to work and keep on it. But you can see just as you get closer and closer to the front, just how much it takes, power it takes out of you, right? So I get to the front here, I'm trying to keep it a little bit steady, let off the gas. Now I'm like, okay, fine. But now here's the stretch of road where it just gets so tough. You can see here there's just cracks along everywhere in the middle of the road, right? So people are trying to echelon, but it's just not really working. So we're all yelling at the Santa Monica guy to get over, right? 'Cause it's just sitting in the middle of the road. Half these guys are guttered, right? So they're just in the wind. People that have pulled off the front are just like, well, do I just slot over? I'm like, guys are coming through in the gutter, so I have to wait for a while to actually get like a good draft. So finally Corey goes through, and I'm like, finally, so I can get back over. So I get back over, and you can see I'm just like, oh, okay. It's one of the few times where I could dip down to 100, but now it's immediately he starts accelerating again because there's some splits, and I was like, crap, I've got to go up to 400. And you can see he's just motoring away, right? I mean, he's so strong. So I get in here, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll be on Justin for a little bit. And, he's guttering everybody, right? So I'm like, well, I don't want to jump on his wheel and then just, like, screw everyone else out, right? So I intentionally stay over more to the left to help some other guys out. But you can see here we kind of start just not hitting the pace, right? So he's starting to pull away a little bit. You can see how much we're just dodging. I'm just dodging cracks left and right. So I'm not even focused on power right now. I'm just saying, like, don't get my front wheel caught in one of these, just massive divots or cracks or potholes, right? And, we had about 4 or 5 guys pulling through. And so now the cracks are starting to form, right? So now there's this little group here with Justin, and I'm like, crap, well, Corey's up the road, and Justin sees that, he says, well, okay, well, I'm going to try to go with Corey, this guy's done, so I'm like, now it's up to me. So I lifted it up a little bit, thinking just get some help from this guy a little, but it's still, again, everyone's kind of just staying toward the gutter a little bit, right? So it's just really, really hard to work cohesively, and I don't think it was an intentional, we're gonna screw over everybody, but I think it was more like if you can notice, just middle of the road sucks. The best part of the road is on the right side, and that just happens to be the gutter, right? That just happens to be the side where there's no protection. So I'm doing my best to try to help, just get the people out, and I'm looking behind, and I'm just like, oh, well, there's no one there, right? So, unintentionally skipping turns just because you'd expect there's a group of 8 guys, but nope, it turns out to only be 4, right? So it's just, this section is just relentless, right? And I don't think the video really does much justice to how windy it really was. It's really, once you've ridden a crosswind, like your front wheel's kind of getting pushed all over the place. You're leaning your bike fully over and stuff just to stay upright, and that's just kind of how it felt. Now here you get the SoCal cycling guy, right? This is kind of what I was talking about. We're all working together, trying to work together pretty well there, and then just one guy's like, well, I'm going to go across, right? So it just forces everyone else to, really crank it up, right? So you saw I was up there at 500 watts for a while. I'm still up at 400, right, going over this rise. We finally kind of get around the Pacific Premier guy. I think that might have been Rex Roberts. And it looked like he was done, right? He's pulling a drink and just being like, okay, I need a break. But now we finally start turning over. So after that hill, now we start turning away from that crosswind, and now it's becoming more of a tailwind, right? So it's getting a little bit easier, right? Now, and digs aren't like 400 watts, they're like 380, 390, right? 350. Again, guys are still like a little bit of gutter jobs, but not that bad. Again, you can see road really rough. You really want to stay away from the left side of that road there. And it's just, it's basically like a spring classic. This section is just, there's so much stuff just you got to be cautious about, and you can't just throw your bike over whenever you want to, right? You got to figure out where it's a good time to slide over when it's not. And see this guy here, I don't think he was really trying to attack. I think he was just pulling through, but then no one else was behind him, right? So he looks back and he's like, oh, well, what happened to everybody, right? And you could just tell it's this section was just really, really difficult, right? So now we're down to basically like 5 guys, right? You know, that one guy in front, 4 guys here and me, or 3 guys here and me. And, you know, I'm almost at max heart rate again, 179 beats per minute, you know, almost 180. We're going 30 miles an hour, right? Doing our best to try to catch Corey and Justin. And, you know, yeah, even, I mean, give Corey a lot of credit. This is that car just kind of like darted in front of us there. That was a little sketchy. The feed zone was not in the most optimal position, you know, right off a high-speed corner, going into a tailwind. So, you know, I see guys that are grabbing bottles there at 30 miles an hour. And it wasn't the most civil group either going through the feed zone. You could see I'm, you know, going 400 watts just to get back on this guy's wheel, right? I mean, so that just goes to show you that people going through there really weren't, you know, doing the gentlemanly thing of not attacking during the feed zone. But at the same time, when there's only a group of 3 or 4 guys, it's you know, it's not like a huge peloton, right? And you got a group of 3 or 4 guys, and there's 2 guys up the road and another group up the road, right? It's kind of, you know, last man standing, you know, kind of mentality, right? So it was just really hectic, really rough, right? You know, going through that feed zone. And thank goodness I actually didn't need to feed. I brought an extra water bottle with me, just in my back jersey pocket. I mean, one thing I did is just going into the race, I knew, I was like, well, I don't think we'll have feed support. And so I just brought a bottle that I was okay never seeing again. You know, one of my old water bottles, training bottles, you know, that's been through hundreds of rides and probably seen better days, right? It's all scratched up and, you know, whatever, right? So I just brought that with me and just knew that, you know, after I'd take that, I would just, you know, empty it and then just jettison it, and that would be it. And I'd never see it again, but, you know, that allowed me to take 3 bottles and not really have to worry too much about, you know, losing a bottle or, you know, whatever, like trying to find it after the race. You know, I could just toss it in the feed zone if someone else picked it up, whatever, no big deal. If I never saw it again, who cares? I got a lot of life out of it, right? So that was just one thing we did. You can see we're getting closer and closer to Justin and Corey there. So it kind of getting back. You can see the groups kind of starting to come back together a little bit through that tailwind there. It's still only, like, 6 guys now, right? So we thinned down a little bit, for sure, in that crosswind. And now you can really see we're starting to hit that, well, it's like a little bit of a crosswind in this section, but still tailwind because it's coming from the north, right? So really not that bad. I mean, we're going along at a good rate. You can see my heart rate finally has dipped below 170, which is just below my threshold heart rate. So, yeah, it's super easy. But now we finally catch Corey Lockwood, and Justin goes off the front on his own. And, you know, I mean, but it's stuff like this that it's just rough, where, you know, Justin will go off the front, and then people get to the front, and they're like, okay, well, do I pull through? Do I attack? And it's just hard to keep everyone together when there's just that bait in front, right, where someone knows if they can bridge across, right, well, maybe they can jettison, you know, all these people, right? But here we do a pretty good job kind of working together, bring them back. Again, smaller group than I expected, so I was late getting on this wheel. Oh, that's why. There's that Santa Monica guy that skipped a pull, right? So I was looking at him, and he, like, I was like, so, you know. He finally comes back in, and we're getting closer. We can tell we're going to get him back, but you can finally see that it's settling down a little bit, right? You know, now, you know, if I'm surging, you know, it's up to the 300 watt range. Definitely getting some time off, but you can see here right now I'm kind of on the front again in the wind, and kind of going 350. Now I'm pulling off and slowing down, right, to get off the front, and just kind of going back down to tempo or zone 2, right? So yeah, it's just a long day, right? I mean, and what makes matters worse is you can see how non-consistent this is, right? You can see how much I'm like, going 180, now 300, now 200, now 400, right? It just wasn't consistent, and half of that wasn't because people were setting a poor pace. I think half of it was just because you really couldn't get a good feel for that draft, right? It was always like a crosswind or headwind or tailwind, right? So it was very little places to hide, right? And it wasn't like you just kind of, okay, now I'm behind someone, I'll get an immediate draft. It was like you'd be behind someone, and then the wind would shift a little bit or blow a gust, and you'd be in the wrong position. Then all of a sudden you had to dig a little bit to close, that half wheel gap that opened up, right? So just the kind of little micro surges like that, just I think are really starting to take their toll on people. And then at the same time, you have this, I don't know, almost like prisoner's dilemma, right? Of like, well, I want to ride fast enough where we can catch the group, but at the same time, you don't want to like surge and, drop people because you need them to help you, right? So it's in your best interest, but if everyone's tired, do you just like pull through and know you can go faster, or do you pull through knowing, that, this is the pace that we need to set, and we need to be doing this amount of power on the front and everything like that, right? I mean, there's a lot of, it's just a lot of stuff involved, right? So, anyways, you can see, again, there's that pickup. You can actually see the group just up ahead, right? I mean, just beyond that pickup, you can see them, right? So this is one of those sections where the group is like, only 50, that's probably 15 seconds maybe, ahead of us, right? So now this is where it starts to break down, right? So now this K-Run guy, he puts in a good effort, and I look back, no one's going, and I chase to his wheel, and we both look back, and now all of a sudden we got a gap, and he's like, okay, well, let's go, and he's like, you're telling me, well, we need some help in the headwind, and I'm like, yeah, I think so, let's just keep it steady. And so I'm kind of going through and just trying to, do my best, but at the same time, I'm pretty tired, right? Heart rate's pretty high still, and it's just the two of us, so it's hard to really get really Jones to put in a huge effort, right? So I let him pull through here and get some draft, and some other people hop on. But anyways, it was just rough. So they're going through again. You can see, I mean, Corey's still in this group, right? But you can see after he made that big attack, he hasn't pulled through since that. And, it's probably smart on his part. You can see here, I mean, we're getting real close to the group right here, right? And ever since that attack in the crosswind with Justin, he's kind of taking it easy on the back of the group. We're all kind of at the front doing our best to keep the momentum going, because we see that they're so close, but at the same time, it's also a game, right? The more work you put in here, right, you're just letting your rivals get that much closer. And I think Corey also had the element of surprise a little bit with him, because he was just wearing that incognito kit. If everyone would have recognized him if he was wearing his Elevate KHS kit from last year, right? Everyone would have known, like, oh, this guy's a serious, pro rider, right? If he's just sitting on taking a free ride, like, this is dangerous, right? So I think we would have been less motivated to work. But at the same time, we were just kind of looking at him. He's like, well, he's really strong, and he's in this USA kit, so he's probably pretty strong. But who knows? He could be from, like, Kentucky or something, right? I mean, I certainly didn't recognize him at the start line. So that was working in his favor. But you can see here, right? I mean, it's just like 3 or 4 of us just all working, hard just to get there. I mean, again, you can see that truck just in front. You peek around the corner and you see the group just pedaling in front of it, right? So you're like, oh man, we're almost there. But it's hard to keep things, cohesive and together. And now we're starting to hit more of the false flat section, right? So yeah, we got kind of like a tailwind here, but this is kind of the sections where it starts to, gradients start to pitch up, 1-2%, and then they'll level off again, and so it's hard to keep momentum going, especially when you guys are already tired. So we've been pulling on that flat there and that tailwind, and I'm sure Corey and Justin, you can see that they're not pulling through at all, right? We haven't seen them once yet. They're just hanging out, right? And that's the frustrating part. So here probably I was looking around just trying to get someone to close that gap, right? And then it was a game of chicken, and I was like, well, we're so close. I don't want to lose that game, right? So I just accelerate, get through, and yeah, I mean, it was, looking back at this video, I was probably making a lot of mistakes, just not, taking more of a stand of forcing myself to go to the back and not work so hard at the front here. I mean, looking here, you see like, oh, well, you're under 300 watts, not that bad. And you're right, I mean, it wasn't like we were pulling like crazy out of our minds, but again, it's just the kind of relentless, just always on, kind of, I don't know, just pace, right? So here, no one else really wants to do any work, and I can see him up the road. I'm like, come on, let's go. So now we're getting to that, like I was saying, like the false flat, right? So now it's like 3%, 4%. We're slowing down. I'm doing 300 watts, but I'm also like, well, I don't want to go so fast. I don't want to let people pull through. So now I start to ease off a little bit, right? And hoping someone's pulling through, and people are being really stubborn, right? They're not doing it. So now you can see it's like the gap's starting to go back out, right? Now that pickup's not quite as close as it used to be. Santa Monica pulls through, but he's like, come on, guys, like, what the hell are you guys doing, right? So he's trying to get over as far as he can. But you really just look at the guys coming through, and it's really the same 5 guys, right? Now I finally see Corey, right? All this time, but it's been about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, maybe, since his last big attack in that crosswind, and didn't see him at all, right? He blended in the back. And now we're about to make this slight right turn, and this is really where the climb kind of begins, right? So here you can see, me and the other 5 guys have been working really hard the whole time, and then Corey just kind of shifts right up to the front there, and it's just like, oh, okay, we're going on the climb now. All right, I'll be at the front. I can do this. So again, it's just smart, and then Justin sees it, and he's the one. Justin actually initiates this move, which I didn't, at the time I didn't take any mention of it, but you see Corey immediately follows it, right? He's immediately on the wheel. They were both probably the freshest guys in this group, right? And you can see here we're just out of the saddle. I'm just doing my best just to hold, suck wheel, right? I'm doing like 400 watts just to get on, right? Get on, and I'm finally like, oh, okay, fine, I can ease off a little bit, but then, drop the wheel, and have to surge again. This is really surging, right? You can see them starting to get further up the road, right? The group is just splitting all over the place, right? Now I'm a couple wheels off of, I think, Rex here, right? And I'm just like, oh, come on, get to the back. You can see him struggling, so I have to go around him. Again, this is all cross headwind right now, right? So it's just really, really hard. Everyone's just out there. But you can see how shattered it is, right? I mean, I'm nowhere close to the guys chasing right now. It's just me, just trying to keep a good pace, going up this hill, and I'm basically doing everything I can, right? 182 beats per minute. I mean, I'm on my edge, right? I mean, like, this is as hard as I can go. Everything I've got, right? I'm just trying to be like, get to that wheel, right? And the biggest thing about this climb is, you look at it, it's not that long, right? I mean, right now I'm on the rivet, right? So everything feels like it's an eternity, but it's not like an alpine climb, right? I mean, this is shorter than Torrey Pines. This is shorter than, a lot of climbs out in SoCal, right? So it's not crazy, but what made it even more difficult is, so we get to the top here, right? You can see it starts like leveling off a little bit, but we make this slight left, and now it's just like almost pure crosswind, right? Now, if you were, struggling on the back, right, like I am here, right, I'm just struggling to hold the wheel. I am so desperate to get on the back, but I just can't make any ground. And now we're in this crosswind section, and there's like I said, it's like, so you're already on your limit, and now you can't even just like drift back behind them. Right now it's like every man for himself, right? You can see it there, they're trying to echelon. I'm just in the gutter trying to just claw, fight, and I'm slowly making some progress, but it's really the Santa Monica guy's kind of falling off the back a little bit. I'm like, oh, come on, just get to the back, and really right now I'm like, you can see the pickup right there. See the pickup? That's the support car, right? Not that far away. And actually, I think that was actually when Corey went around it. But here, I mean, I completely forgot about Corey, right? I mean, I'm just hanging on for dear life, right? I have no idea. You know, I saw Justin made that surge, but at the time, I'm just like, get on this wheel. I'm just thinking, get on this wheel. I'm not thinking about who's ahead. I'm not thinking about the group. I'm thinking, don't get dropped. Just hold on. Just hold on, please. Really, for the love of God, just get on that wheel, right? And finally, you know, we're still on that crosswind, but finally there's a little bit of a downhill, and then now it starts to do false flat. So I was able to kind of ride that momentum, and now finally I feel like I'm getting on, and at the same time now it's kicking back up again, and now I'm just right where I was before. Right now I'm like, oh man, I'm getting dropped again, right? And this is all now, you know, crosshead, mostly crosswind. Now people are just guttering it, right? Because they don't want free rides. It's just brutal, right? I mean, this whole section just, I feel like you can feel the pain, right? I mean, everybody's on the limit. This guy out of the saddle, doing everything he can to stay on, right? The Santa Monica guy, you know, same thing, his shoulders rocking. And thankfully, coming up here, the group kind of like eases off a little bit. We kind of made it to the top, and now there's this little like downhill section, right? So now everyone's like, okay, now we got it. But you can see here, we got Justin back, but Corey's gone, right? And from what I could tell, this was where he made his move to go across, right? I mean, we had gotten the closest we had gotten to the group heading into that climb, thanks to, you know, a lot of the 4 or 5 guys' work, right, including myself. And you know, Justin made a move, and Corey was fresh and had the legs. Okay, so here there's a little acceleration, and that's great. You know, just after I thought I was on, I was thinking do another dig at 500 watts just to get up this little rise, which is just lovely. But I can't say what Corey did after that, but I definitely know that was where he made his move, right? And we didn't catch him after that. And you can see here, everyone's just exhausted, right? Like, no one wants to pull through. It's just fanning out, right? I mean, it's going to a headwind, or going to go into a headwind now, right? So everyone's just like, oh, please just be done, right? Like, you can tell it's just madness. So I was so happy to freewheel there. I was so happy just to like, you know, just hang on, right? And that's the thing, right, that really kills the momentum is you get that attack, right, and then everyone's just on their limit, and then, you know, the person in front, well, I know he doesn't want to pull, but everyone else in the back is not like they don't want to pull. They just are like, I just need a break, man. I just need to recover. So we're recovering here, and you know, my heart rate's going back down, so I'm finally like, oh, okay, I made it over the tough part. Oh, finally, all right. And you know, we could see a couple guys up the road actually, and now this SoCal cycle guy just accelerates, right? And I'm just like, oh fuck, like I just don't want to do this. And so he goes, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna ride steady. You know, I'm just gonna ride, and hopefully someone's gonna come around me, and you know, we'll all work together to get everyone back, right? So I'm just, you know, not really trying to push it too hard, just trying to keep it around 300, right? You can see, you know, finally someone decides to pull through, and they're getting closer. I think it's Justin off the front. No, Justin's right there. I'm not sure who's actually off the front in this circumstance. But like I said, I mean, I wasn't really. There's that little surge, right, going over the top of the hill, right? So now I got caught out of that a little bit just because I'm just like so dead, right? I don't want to go back anaerobic after I've been anaerobic for so long, right? So we'll get over the top, and now finally just freewheeling down, trying to get aero, and just, you know, get onto the back of these guys here. some of these guys might have been dropped from the lead group. That might be where they were. I really don't know, but I know Lockwood is definitely not part of that. And so we're getting on here, and I'm just happy to be on the back here, right? So I think you'll notice, I think this is the lap where I will intentionally miss a lot of pulls because I'm just need a break, right? I've been just on for so long, just motoring, just hammering, and I'm just kind of like done, right? So I'm just kind of like, listen, if we get them back, that's great, but I'm not gonna do anything, right? So now I intentionally like leave this gap here, and I'm like, all right, dude, come on, you gotta get it. And all this time, you can see I'm still able to hit like 500 just to get it back on the back of the wheel, right? It's not like I'm totally spent, but at the same time, I need a break. So this is probably the lowest my heart rate's been in a long time. Right now, it's down to 150 after that descent, and I'm doing a little bit of, I guess you could say, like acting, a little bit of acting job here. If guys are pulling off and want to pull through, right, I'll kind of give them like the head bob down, like barely chewing at my stem kind of look, right, where I'll be like, oh, okay, I guess this guy's really tired, okay, I can't really expect him to pull through, kind of thing like that. So I'll do that a couple times going through this headwind segment, because I really don't want to pull on this headwind, right? I mean, like, this draft on this headwind is so great, so big, but like here, so like Justin pulls back, right? And now I'm just like, no, but I'm not going to move over, right? I'm just going to, be gatekeeper here, right? I intentionally move over to the side so this guy doesn't see me. It's harder to hide, though, because we got the shadows. So if people look over, they can just see there's a shadow there, and they'll be like, hey, what the hell? There's a guy on my wheel, right? But you see, I'm just getting on the back of these guys, right? I'm just like letting them filter through. I'm just like, no, you guys got it, right? And at the same time, I'm just trying to take as much shelter as possible. But it's just, like I said, it's just so hard. I mean, that climb, I guess that climb really defined the race. I mean, if Corey was able to get across there, that was like the go time, right? And just looking back, at this video, I mean, at the time, you don't think you make those mistakes at the time, right? Every time you look back and you look at your race, you're like, man, God, those guys are just so strong. Like, man, I must be just out of shape. Like, wow, But now looking back at it, I mean, don't get me wrong, Corey was super strong. I mean, you saw him, he just destroyed us in that crosswind, right? Just by himself. And then also you saw how he destroyed everyone on that climb. But at the same time, he's also smarter with how he was racing, right? He saw that after he got caught back after that crosswind, he saw that there's 5 or 6 of us that are all working pretty well together, and he just kind of snuck on the back, right? And just, play that game, right? Just was like, whatever, I'll just leave a gap, and it's not here. I'm like, I can't go anymore, I can't go, right? So this guy kind of looks over and is just like, fine, I'll get on the back, right? Anyways, but back to Corey, I mean, you saw there's a good 20 minutes where after that feed zone where he just didn't do anything. He just was chilling. Again, guys are getting mad at me now, right? They see me take missed pulls for a while, and I'm like, just let me be. Oh, now my heart rate's actually below 150. Amazing. First time ever. But yeah, you saw how he just saved his energy. And I only realized this until looking at this video. I mean, at the back at the time, I was basically blacked out because I was up to my eyeballs in that lactic acid, right? And I was just assuming that everyone was working, and that I knew there were some free rides, but I didn't take inventory of who was actually taking the free rides, right? I was like, yeah, some guys are on the free rides, but a lot of those guys that were taking free rides ended up getting dropped at the end, right? So they weren't there at the end. So it's kind of a give and take, it's kind of like are the guys actually in the back just hanging out because they need to save energy, or are they just hanging out because they're just saving themselves for a bigger attack later on, right? And you don't really know. And I think because this race you're so exposed the whole time, it was a bigger gamble to take to get on the back, because gaps would form so easily that you can end up easily getting caught out, or getting caught behind someone that just pops, right? For example, versus if you're in more of a flat race or just a regular race, it's kind of just like whatever, right? So now the concept guy's like, come on, dude, like you guys have been sitting on the back for long enough, like let's get forward. And then I'm finally like, okay, all right, fine. So I get on and I'm going up, and now I know I got a guy behind me, right? So now I'm like, well, now I got to take my spot in line. But that was a good 5 minutes where I actually got a break. I got a breather going in this headwind. Yeah, woohoo! But yeah, kudos to Corey, man, for making that move. It really kind of the stars aligned for him, where we got it fairly close, the gap fairly close. So he was able to jump across it on that climb. Where all of us, we weren't going up slow on that climb, we're always just on the rivet, and then we definitely eased off right when we got to the top, right? We got to the top, got after the headwind. Guys were just couldn't pull through anymore, right? So we were all just tired, and then all of a sudden now the gap went back out, and now you can't, I don't even think you can really see the pace car anymore, right? Or the support car anymore. So that's how it went. But I guess just looking back on it, just something to remember, right? I mean, if you can't win, right, you might as well learn from your mistakes. And so I think I think Justin's kind of yelling at me to pull through. Maybe this isn't the section because they were going downhill. So, but I know he was giving me a lot of lip about don't surge pulling through, and get to the front quick and then pull back off and blah blah blah. And I was just doing that because I just didn't want to be on the front anymore. I was just so tired that I was just I just don't want to do this anymore, right? I was kind of mentally drained, mentally cracked, right? But you can see here I'm on the front actually for a while here, just for after that downhill, and I'm trying to get as over as possible to be like, come on, someone go through. And yeah, this guy gets out of the saddle and working hard to go up the hills, and now everyone else is like, well, now we got to work hard, right? So now it's like, okay, sprinting up the hill, 500 watts, okay, great. We just had a fun rest, not anymore, right? So it's just, at the same time, it's you want to keep momentum going over these hills, right? You don't want to slow down, but at the same time, you want to keep the group together. Most of the guys are able to do it, but just looking at how the numbers are just bouncing around, I'm spending a lot of time I had been spending a lot of time in the 400s for, the last lap, right? So anytime you go back in there, there's not a lot left in the legs, right? So everything just hurts a little bit more. And now it's going a little bit smoother. Guys have calmed down a little bit, have had a good rest after that climb, right? So now it's okay, it's not as bad. Now I'm getting in the wind here and trying to get past this Santa Monica guy. And like I said, it was taking a while, right? But it's just because just so tired, right? It's I'm going 320 watts, right? Whereas before that was oh, whatever, no problem. I think Justin yelled at me there, or whatever, or just said something to me, just hey, you gotta work, get to the front faster, right? Stuff like that. I'm just fuck. So anyway, again, you can see here a lot of guys skipping pulls, right? So we go through and we get box back to the front. We're okay. Oh, now you can see the white speck in the front in the distance. That's the support car. So they're right there. So we're oh, okay, let's go. They're right there. But it just, actually, maybe that was just a house. Maybe that's just a house. Never mind. But regardless, yeah, we're just doing our best to get back there. And now at this point, right, we're catching people. People are bridging across. I really have no idea how many people are in front. Before when the move went, I was okay, there's 8 to 10 guys, and a lot of big players are up there. Like I said, I know Locke made the move across right at the beginning, right? So I was like, oh, it's a big name, right, to look out for. And then before the video started recording, he came up to our group, and then so you see here Justin was like saying, everyone take it easy here, right? He's like, just take it easy, let's keep it calm, like let's not destroy each other on the crosswinds. And I don't know if that was for self-preservation or it was more, at the time I was thinking to myself, like, hell yes, like I do not want to like just tear each other's legs off again like last lap, right? So I'm like very motivated, trying to be very kind. We're all trying to be like, hey, let's echelon, right? But as soon as you make this little corner here, just like the road just starts getting so bad. It just gets so bad, and then it's hard. Like, you're not even trying to be a dick. It's just hard to find a spot where you're not going to crash, basically, right? So Justin goes through, and you see you're working pretty well, but you look back at the shadows, and you're like, oh, it was only like 7 guys, right? And I think that's it. I think it only was 7 guys, right? Like, this is all of us. This is all that's left. This is the peloton, effectively, right? Now this is the peloton. And so there's no free rides, but again, here you see, like, I'm like wobbling left and right. I'm like trying to stay out of these divots, but I also want to stay in the draft. And I'm like, what do I do? So I'm like surging, just try to stay in the draft, but like at the same time, like just trying to avoid stuff so it's not really that smooth. And now I get to the front because I'm like, okay, well, like, yeah, get me out of here, right? So I'm like moving over, trying to get over as left as I can, get past that really bad thing, hug the double yellow. But it's just like, oh man, it's so brutal, right? And so we're doing a pretty good job here of keeping it civil, but again, you want to be able to move back across easily, but now I'm like, oh, well, there's those, like, all those just left, right cracks, and it's not just like one crack in the middle of the road, they kind of like staggering, right? So it's just, Justin's doing his best to keep everyone together, and he actually, he pushed me a bunch, and I'm grateful for that, as much as he was yelling at me and stuff, and during the times where I didn't want to work, he did give some people pushes on the back to like keep things together, and kind of took that group whip role, right? So kind of like whipping everyone into doing work and doing a little bit of encouragement, but just kind of making sure everyone stays there to work, right? So he did a good job, and he's one of the more veteran guys in the peloton. So you see a guy like that in your group, and he's got enough street cred where you basically have to listen to him, right? You can't just new cat 2 on the block be like, no, Justin, I'm not going to listen to you, right? I mean, he's won a bunch of races, he's a cat 1, he's definitely really, really strong rider, so you kind of just gotta suck it up and do what he says, right? He's kind of the patron of the peloton, right? But yeah, so brutal laps. We're coming up, finishing the 5th here, I think. So this is the second to last crosswind. We'll be going into the bell lap after this is really done, but I think this is really where the race kind of gets out of sight, because now just going off of memory, I can't remember seeing the group anymore after this one. I mean, they might be a little ahead, but I can't really tell from this video. But I certainly don't remember being that close to that support car, on that 5th lap going into the final lap. So, as smooth as this section was, and as, well, we were working together and stuff, it might have just been the nail in the coffin, right? Where, like I said, like, because we're taking it easy and we're not taking it easy, but just taking it smooth and making sure everyone's staying on board and not, pushing the limit, we're kind of falling off the pace, right? But at the same time that happens, though, I mean, when you're riding and, it's already been, it's been like 50 some, no, it's like 60 miles. It's been about 60 miles, right? 60 miles on the rivet, right? I mean, if someone tells you to ride slower, you're going to like to ride slower, right? You're not going to be like, come on, let's go. And that was probably the smoothest we ever took, that crosswind section, right? There's no attacks. Everyone took it really smooth, right? You know, no one was a dick and trying to break things up. So now we're pulling off that crosswind section, now heading into tailwind, and it's just like, oh, thank God. Thank God it's over. But you can see here the road still sucks, though. The road is still pretty shitty the whole way through here. So, and that's another thing that I guess that I didn't think would have as much of an effect. I've ridden this course before, and I knew the roads weren't the best. And I knew there's like these long cracks in there, right? So that's been known. It's been like that for years and years and years. So it's not like this has just been a bad, you know, like it was a bad year, right? Where all of a sudden all these cracks formed. It's been there for a while, but I just didn't. I felt like, you know, at the end of the race, like that had actually like pretty big, just endurance like effect to it all, right? Like going up all these bumps, and you're just jostling around, really preventing you from getting comfortable, you know, pushing out a lot of power, right? Because you kind of have to like weight your legs a little bit, right? You can't just like put all your body weight on the saddle, right? Because you know you're just gonna hit a bump and then it's just gonna, you know, buck you off your seat. So you got to kind of load your pedals a little bit and unload your saddle, and you know, riding for 20 miles like that or 40 miles like that, right? Just kind of takes its toll on the legs a little bit, I think, too, right? So, you know, it has a toll on comfort and in the legs as well. So, I believe this is the final lap, and going through, taking feeds. Again, because I had the extra bottle, I didn't need a feed, so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm good, you know. Working my way through. Everyone's doing their best to stay up, and, you know, taking some drinks, and yeah. So here's actually probably this is the most civil we took it, but you can say here also we slowed down to like 22 miles an hour, right? Whereas I think before last time we went through here, it was at like 28, almost 30. So we're picking it up again, right? So now I'm accelerating and going back up. So now we're picking up the speed. Now it's like 25, 26. But a little bit of crosswind, right? So you want to stay to the right side, but you know, people are being guttered, so that is not helping. But like I said, I don't think it was intentional. I just think it's like the best part of the road was the right, you know, this whole stretch, right? The best part of the road, the smoothest part of the road, the right side. You never wanted to be at the double yellow because there's just these cracks all the time over there. And I guess even mentally, just making that turn into the feed zone, you knew that the worst part of the road was over, so you enjoyed that. Here, this guy kind of lifts the pace a little bit, and I think this guy, you saw him, or you're going to see later, he's going to take some pulls, and he was getting a lot of flack from a lot of the guys, you know, telling him to take smoother pulls and blah, 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 but I don't think he was trying to be a dick. I think he was just, like, trying to motivate everyone to, like, get on with it, you know, like, let's go. But for me, I would be like, ugh, man, it's stuck behind this guy, so I just get to the front and immediately, like, pull the plug, right? So I get to the front immediately, I'm like, okay, slow it down, right? And so, yeah, so you'll hear guys yell at him to, you know, keep it steady or keep it smooth, and I really don't think you know, 'cause you're in a Cat 2 race, everyone really knows how to ride a pace line, but it's hard to measure it when you're off, you know, the pace of the front group, right? When you so desperately want to get back to the front group. And I think he was actually, we picked him up from the front group, so he wants to get back there, and so he knows, like, you know, what pace they were doing, right? You know, so he could have just be doing the pulls that he was doing up front there, right? But so you see here, like, kind of surges front a little bit. Santa Monica is like, oh, okay, and like jumps on his wheel. But he thinks, you know, like, pull way too long in front, right? So we're like, okay, dude, you know. And yeah, so Santa Monica, like, yells at him, it's like telling him, like, keep steady, you know, right? And it's just a rough day. you know, I think everyone's just tired here, tired, grumpy, you know, tired of dealing with all these crosswinds, right? You know, I'm like, I don't want to go above 300 watts here. Don't make me do it. And then I get in front and pull over, and then I'm like, okay, fine. Oh, thank God. You know, pull the plug and jib deck down to 200, right? So, yeah, rough, man, rough. Still got I guess a lap to go. I guess here everyone's just kind of taking inventory, right? So, freewheeling a little bit and just taking it easy. And I don't know. I think probably here some guys realize that we're probably not going to catch the lead group. I certainly, after that last climb, stopped having but my goal wasn't to catch that lead group anymore. My goal was to finish the race, right? My goal was to finish the race in this group, don't get dropped from this group. If we happen to work together and bring it back, that's great, but I am not going to, do that on my own, right? Or make a move to bridge across, right? That was the furthest thing from my mind, right? So, yeah, just get in the front and pulling through still, and yeah, working. But that's what you got to do when you're in a break and want to keep everyone happy. And I say break, but really we're not a break. We're just whatever's left of the field, which is kind of, I guess, just goes to show you how hard this race was. For a race that one of the first races of the year, still in January, right? This race was so hard, right? I guess it's not you shouldn't be surprised to see such a big attrition, but at the same time, we finished the race, and I'm just like, how did these guys all do that? The guys in the front group, I'm like, how did they all stay up there? How did not, 8 of those guys just not, completely pop? I know, Corey Lockwood's really strong, Eno's really strong, Tyler's really strong, those guys, seeing them on the podium, that wasn't a surprise to me. But just seeing the fact that so many of the other guys just stayed up there and just didn't get railed, going up the final climb or going up in the crosswind and just be shattered, right? I didn't know. I thought we were gonna that made me question my fitness a lot. Certainly when I finished this race, I was in a bad place because I was like, man, I was working so hard, did so much work, we just made no progress, and then just these guys Corey and Eno were just able to just skip across, bridge gaps, get to their lead group, and while we're all struggling behind, and I was like, man, I thought I was in really good form, I'm really lightweight, one of my best, functional threshold powers tested to date, right? I was like, dude, this is gonna be my year. And I finished the race, and I'm just like, holy crap, I have so much room to go, there's another level, and I'm not even close to that yet, right? And I guess looking back on this video, it was a good thing, just because I can see how Corey was able to bridge across and eventually win. I'm sure he took his time bridging across, and then I'm sure he took his fair share of free pulls on the back of that group too, right? Where people know that if you bridge across, right, you'll get some slack, right, because you just put in a big effort, but it's not he could have just done the same thing he basically did to us before, where he just took 15 minutes off and then chilled and let everyone pull in this section again, and tire themselves out, and then all of a sudden at the end he just goes, oh, hey, thank you very much, I'll just spank it in the crosswind and see you guys later, right? So he definitely could have done that. But yeah, I want to say it just made me feel a little bit better, at least, that it wasn't he was pulling through with all of us, right? And then just we get to that climb and he just goes, all right, see you later, guys, right? At least it was well, he was fresh, and that was that, right? And you got to give him credit too. He still put in a phenomenal effort to get across there. I don't even think I could have done that if I was fresh, but at least you're better off, right? Like that, right? At least you have a little bit more energy. At least you can have enough energy in the tank to dig deep, for that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever it took them to get across. Versus, you saw when I hit that climb, like, I was able to, hold like 400, and then once it kicked up to like 500, 600, I immediately started losing the wheel, right? Immediately, it was bad. So, yeah. So anyways, we're going back up the climb again, or this, I guess this is not really the climb, this is like more of the false flat area. It's starting to split up a little bit again now. You can see this guy going off the front. I don't think this was an intentional move. I don't think this was him being like, screw you guys. But I think it was just more of so like here I try to pull a little bit, and then I'm like, oh no, I can't do it. So help, please help. Right, so I like totally soft pedal. But then that just, like, it's another thing too. It's like, well, you soft pedal and then someone else just attacks from behind you. And you're like, oh, great. So now I have to dig, get back on, and it's just a whole ordeal. And this is kind of one of the last things that I want to do. So at least the scenery's pretty. I mean, I had no idea this was such a nice sunset at the time. The time I was riding, I could not have told you that. But yeah, look at the video. It doesn't look bad. It looks like a nice ride, right? Going through some farmland country, sunny day. It's a big deal. But man, yeah, this race was so brutal. So you can see it, right? Like, this guy just did a bunch of work, and he's like, dude, I'm not chasing this down. You guys gotta do some work, right? So I was in the back. I'm like, all right, fine. I was. I'll do some working on the front. And I think this SoCal cycling guy, I don't think he wants to go solo, right? He's just like, all right, come on, guys, like, get back onto my wheel, let's go, right? He's stretching, he's like looking back, right? Soft pedals a little bit there, right? So it's definitely not like going all out to get away. It's just like okay, let's go, let's get on with it, let's finish the race. But yeah, so we're coming up on the final climb pretty soon. Just I think in like a kilometer or so, maybe. Or I guess this video is all in miles, so like half a mile. Or so, yeah. But this is just kind of like a little bit more of the draining part. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like tailwind, crosswind, right? So you can see you're like 27, 28. We're not really going that slow. But you can see here, like, I'm going 28, but I'm barely pushing like 250, right? So it's like, really, pretty smooth. Now we're getting to like more of the false flat area. So I'm like, ooh, okay, slow down a little. Let someone else go through. Again, gaps and stuff, and so now you gotta do a little dig to 400 just to get on the wheel. I'm out of the saddle, stretching out. But yeah, it's just I'm all over the place, man. I'm just shattered. But at least I'm happy I'm still here. You get in some pretty dark moments when you're on your limit, and you look around, there's not much shelter, and there's going to be more wind and just more suffering ahead of you, and you're just like, oh my god, just like, you go by the start finish and you're like, man, that car looks pretty good, like, I could just pull the plug and go to the car and all this would be over. But then you start thinking about it, like, well, I'm the only one left from our team here, right? Like, all my teammates are, I don't know if they're still back in the field, if there's a field behind us, like, I have no idea, right? And I'm like, I think we're still in the chase group, right? So I'm like, oh, my teammates are back in the field, they can't just pull out now, right? Like, rule number 1 is don't get dropped from a breakaway, blah, 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 right? All that stuff, right? It starts going through your head, and you're just like, okay, all right, I gotta keep going, right? So now we're going on the climb for the final time, and in this, I'm just like, okay, just stay with the group. Like, that was my whole goal. Like, no, don't lift the pace. Just stay with the group. Like, okay, Justin's good draft. Let's let's stay on him, right? Like chill out. And we start going a little fast, and I don't really like this, right? And I'm like, okay, getting out of the saddle, right, 10, 12 miles an hour, right? Starting to lose the wheel a little bit, but not that bad, right? Still in contact, just doing my best. Definitely there's sections where, you can take it's kind of like the half soft pedal, right? Where you go from going to like full power to like, zone 2 for a little bit. So here I'm like, well, should I let this guy in? But then the wind started picking up and I'm like, oh, nope, don't do it. And he's being kind of a dick to me right here, where he's not letting me hold my line, right? So he's like trying to fight for Justin's wheel, and then we're both out of the saddle, and I'm just like, come on, dude, like, I'm here, I'm on the double yellow, you're really gonna like force me out, right? We're both like riding the other side of Justin's wheel here. So finally, thankfully the group moves over a little bit so I can finally get some breathing room. But I definitely had to like bump him a little bit with the elbows, like on the hip, right? Just be like, dude, like, come on. If you want to, you can slot him behind me, but that's about it. So, but here you can see we gotta go up that hill, and Justin's not the best climber, so he leaves a little bit of a gap, and so I do my best to get on the back of it. But for the most part, we're not shattering the group too badly, but we're getting to the top here, and now you're really starting to feel the wind, and now you're like, the legs are really hurting. I mean, yeah, I'm like at threshold heart rate, and my power is so well below threshold, it's like crazy, like high tempo right now, and it's just, there's nothing you can do, right? Like, you're pedaling squares, doing everything you can, downshifting is the last thing you want to do, right? You're like, cool, more work, I don't want to do that. So you're doing everything you can. I see the gap's getting away a little bit, so I surged, and now I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna motor, keep it steady, and get back onto these guys, right? So trying my best to avoid the bumps in the road, and if anyone's gonna get a free ride, I'm like, well, at least they're gonna be in the gutter, right? So, at least I'm doing that. But now it's starting to get a lot harder, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can get back onto them. So I'm starting to move over, right? I'm starting to be like, okay, let's echelon a little bit, and now I pull off. Right now I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, that was it. Someone else go through. And this is the top part, right, where now it's the crosswind. It's it's not as steep, but you're still exposed, right? And I guess what we got, five guys here, with 2 guys up the road, so 7 total. And yeah, it's just going through. Justin, I guess we surged here because we wanted to gallop across there really quick, and that was the last thing I wanted to do. I was like, oh no, don't do that. Come back. Just like going to this little rise here. I was like, damn it. So we go up here, and again, I'm just like survival mode. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking tactically, how am I going to beat these guys? I'm not thinking tactically, how am I going to get to the group up the road? I'm just like, hey, let me find a draft here. Let me stay on the back. Let's, and I always get behind this concept guy, and I look ahead, and I'm like, oh no, I'm starting to lose it a little bit. Oh, come on, buddy, come on. But then I can see, like, well, it's getting closer to the top, the top of this little rise here, so it's not that bad. But I still, pulled through and do my best to close the gap, and now I can see that they're all soft pedaling here, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. Oof. Now I'll be able to catch on for sure, right? Knowing that they're not going full gas. You can see heart rate back up to the 170s again, which is, threshold level. I don't think I hit a new max heart rate this race. I think it was like 188. I think my max that I've ever hit was like 194, but that was in Yoruba Valley when it was like 116 on the road. So I think that one was, the heat I think was really the main cause of that, super high heart rate.
But yeah, this race certainly wasn't easy. So here, we do a little kick, get up this little rise just before we go down the downhill, and I'd get out of the saddle. But again, I was able to respond and able to hang on. Right, so you hang on, and I'm doing the minimum amount of work I can, just like hanging on for dear life, basically. Yeah. Again, at the front of the race is long gone here at this point. Like, we haven't seen the car in a while. And I don't think we're anywhere near it, really, either. So it's just, people are just kind of more limping on home. So we caught those two guys that went off the front, and now everyone's just in it together. Or at least that's how I felt. But yeah, when you're in the position, I mean, you're shattered, right? I mean, it just goes to show you how hard bike racing is, to keep like that level, that like, I guess like next level thought in your head, right? When you're already really, really tired, and you're seeing double, and then you got to start thinking about like tactics on top of it, right? You got to start thinking like, okay, well, do I want to follow this wheel? How far ahead is the other group? Should I fall back and take some pulls or skip some pulls, and then hit the group really hard and attack them on this specific section, right? And all that stuff. I mean, it's really hard to do in the moment. After the fact, when you're looking at a video analyzing it, I should have been like, oh yeah, I should have seen him, like someone was going to attack on that hill. At the same time, I was like, oh yeah, I'm just want to hang on for dear life, right? So when that happens, there's not much you can do. But it just goes to show you how hard it is, right? If you're seeing double and you don't really know what's going on, right? It's like, well, what? Do I pull this guy back? Do I just pull through? Do I sit on the back? Do I, what's my end game here? Am I just rolling in with this group? Are we trying to chase everything down and try to get a podium, right? Like, you got to start thinking about that stuff. And I certainly didn't do a good job this race about doing that, just because I was so tired, right? I was just done, right? I mean, a lot of the early stuff efforts I did early really ended up coming back to bite me, just not in the way that I couldn't keep up or I could get dropped, but you can see both times going up this last climb, I was like really struggling, right? I was really struggling just to put out that top end power, right? Or the VO2 max, where just really dig deep, really hurt, right? I just couldn't do it anymore. And I think I had a lot to do with, trying to go on that second lap, little breakaway on that hill, just because the peloton wasn't motivated. I mean, I know going in the race, I really didn't want to do that, but when the opportunity's there, it's kind of hard to say no, especially when, breakaway in these conditions was favored, and also it favors me as a rider too, right? More of a time trialist, right? If everyone has to work in the wind, that's better for me. And then, seeing that the main move go, and then kind of responding to it late, and then just kind of be hanging out to dry in no man's land for 3 or 4 minutes, right? Just going all out. It wasn't good either, right? So, looking back, there's probably some stuff I could have done to race better, but at the same time, I mean, I can't bring myself up too much, because it wasn't like I, made those moves, gambled, and then just didn't have anything left to finish, right? I mean, I'm on my limit, or now, at least, it's calmed down a little bit, but if you look at my heart rate, right, it's in the 140s, but, I was on my limit, and at least I was able to finish still, right? It wasn't like I went off the front, got chewed up, and then got spit back out the back, right? I went up, and then I just got caught by the field, and I was able to stick with the field, right? And, give credit to everyone else in this group too, right? I mean, they're all tough as nails as well. I mean, no one, I think, here had a really easy ride today. Everyone was working and, doing a lot of work on the front. So, it wasn't, or just in the wind in general, right? So all these guys are really tough too. So you gotta give them credit. It wasn't like, sometimes in crits you'll see guys and you get to like the top 10 and you'll be like, how the hell did they do that? And then it's just, surfing wheels all the way through, right? And then didn't hit the wind once, not even in the sprint finish, right? So sometimes you see that and you're kind of like, okay. But here, definitely everyone kind of earned their stripes, right? Because it was such a hard race and so exposed and just so hard. So, yeah. You can feel that headwind. We're going 18 miles an hour now, right? Dead straight, right? I mean, when's the last time you saw that? A bunch of Cat 1s, Cat 2s, barely able to hit 20 miles an hour on a dead flat road, right? So, if that's any indication of just how strong that wind is right now, it's definitely up there. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say this section was my least favorite, because at least when you're in the draft, you definitely got a good draft, but certainly when you hit the front, it stung a lot, and you had to do your best to manage that. Even though there's some good downhill sections, it was just relentlessly headwind for so long too. Like, that's another bad thing about this section, is just it was so long. Like you go through it and you think like, oh yeah, we're just on the straight part. Okay, yeah, we'll go past the start finish, or the old start finish, and and before you know it, we'll hit that turn. But it definitely wasn't like that. But you can see here, everyone's working, but again, you can also tell that it's not at the same pace that it was before, right? I'm soft pedaling the wheels here, getting on Justin. I'm just in like, good zone 2, pulls off, get to the front now, making my way up, and I guess that pull through was around 300, so maybe not. But before the last couple pulls, there was kind of all like high tempo, right? It kind of wasn't really going too fast, but maybe that's just because we had a little bit of downhill, so we got some momentum, and everyone's trying to keep that pace up. But you can see here I had to search just to get back onto this guy's draft, right? And yeah, just battling that headwind the whole way. I still don't know how the guys in front did all this, but we're doing our best here and just limping along home. But yeah, and I guess, 60 starters, this group of 7, there's 8 or 10 guys, I guess, in front of us. You gotta give credit, right? I mean, even finishing from this group, right, it's still, top 15, right, of, maybe of 20 guys that finished total, right? So it's like, wow, there's a pretty high attrition rate. So you gotta look for silver linings when you can, right? I mean, obviously I'm not really too thrilled that I missed the winning move after seeing it go, and then also missing opportunities to bridge up to it. At the time I didn't realize that, but I guess I didn't realize that I was missing those opportunities, right? Like, I knew we had Lockwood in our group, but I only realized that he won after I'd finished the race, right? Like, when we're in this situation, like, I completely, forgot that he was even there, and that's how I just assumed that he got dropped, right? Like, I was like, oh, well, he didn't go off the front, that would have been crazy, and then he did. And so I was like, oh, what? I thought he was with us, and I thought I got dropped, but no, he didn't. So it's just like I was saying, it's hard to keep all that mental math going, right? When the best you can do is, hold the wheel, or the best you can do or think of, right, is, looking at you like 2 meters in front of you just to make sure that you don't get dropped, right? It's hard to keep tally of everyone in there, hard to keep tally of who goes off the front, right? And so it's just a lot of stuff like that where it just gets hard and mentally draining, right? To really
to be on like that the whole time and think. So here we get into this little rise again, and it kind of fans out a little bit. Here I'm just thinking, okay, well, take a free ride for a little bit on Justin's wheel, but again, just don't want to get dropped here. So, just slowly move up, keep some speed, but don't, downshift all the way and, totally lose all your momentum, right? So, kind of moving through. This guy kind of surges a little bit, and I'm just like, oh, damn it. But he's just riding hard, that's just what he's doing. He's just riding hard. And pretty soon we'll get back to as a little rise now, it'll slowly pitch downward, and then we'll take that turn, and then it'll be the crosswind section for the last time. Thank goodness. So, yep. SoCal cycling guys riding strong. I don't know who that guy is in that turquoise, but he looks familiar. There's a concept racing guy, a Santa Monica guy, and Justin Williams. So, yeah, not too bad of a group. But yeah, we're doing their best to try to keep things organized and pull through. And you see now, the sun's almost setting right now, which is kind of crazy. But that's just how it is. And I guess at the time when you're racing, you don't really realize it. You start and the sun's up, and you're like, oh yeah, cool. And then only now when I look back at it, I'm like, oh yeah, wow, we almost raced till basically the sun was down, right? I guess that's what you get for racing in January, but yeah, I just didn't really notice that now. At the same time, when you're riding and it's hurting and you just want it to be over, everything kind of gets darker. Anyways, naturally. So, anyways, we're hitting this little downhill section, going over those little cat eye bumps and trying to find a good spot through there. Go down here. I'm like, okay, we're about to take that turn, so getting a good spot for that. Pull off the front. And this SoCal guy kind of goes in front, and I'm like, oh, where is everybody else? There you go. So I take this corner to the inside, and just make sure that I can slot in after it. So I definitely remember on that last corner, remembering I wanted to keep that be inside so that I could get this gutter position as soon as possible, right? So it would never be the risk of being exposed and not basically being able to get a draft, right? And so just in case someone wanted to hit that corner really hard, right? I didn't know, right? We're coming up on the end of the race, so I was like, well, I don't know what we should do. So okay, so we ended up taking it okay, kind of through there, and I pull over and try to make things civil, right? So we're trying to echelon and help people out as much as possible. Again, 7 grown men barely able to hold 21 miles an hour, right? Just goes to show you how windy it was. You really can't tell on the video at all, though, which is sad because there's no real trees that you can see from the camera. But there's times in the race where dust was blowing across the road, and you just were like, oh God, please make it stop. So here the pace is starting to lift up a little bit. People are getting a little excited. It's like, okay, well, we're almost done, and you can see some cars in front of us, and we're gonna pass. I think we're gonna pass the Pro 123 women in a little bit. I think that might be their follow car in front. Yeah, so that other car just passed, and I think this might be their follow car. But we're taking it civil, certainly not going crazy through here. But yeah, you can just see how bad this road is. Just you're just bunny hopping across just to get into a draft, But you don't want to be dangerous and hit someone else in the echelon either, right? So okay. So anyways, the support car pulls over, and then I'm like, okay,
get a draft, get in the gutter. I'm knowing we're coming up on the finish, right? As I'm like, this is the last time through the crosswind section. Like, don't get dropped. Just stay on, stay calm, right? And then just like, do your best for the finish. I was expecting us all to come together for a bunch sprint at the end, considering we took it kind of civil going through here. So I was like, if we took it civil through that corner, we're probably going to take it civil to the finish, right? So, there's Lauren. We just passed Lauren and Jenna. And I guess Maddie was off the front at this point. Probably already finished this point, maybe. I don't know. But you can see here, guys are starting to be like, well, do I pull through? Do I not pull through? What's going on? So it's getting a little bit tactical now because people know we're coming up on the finish. And Justin does, he kind of says, all right, let's just go, right? So he sets the pace, and everyone else, taking drinks and tightening their cleats and looking around. So everyone's just, doing their best. People are talking to each other, looking around like, oh, what do we do now? And I see these guys kind of just sit back, and I'm like, no, can't let these guys go. And so the concept guy sees that we left the gap open, and he's like, all right, I'll try it. And I'm just like, god damn it. So now I start going, and then the Santa Monica guy, I think, comes next to me, gives me a little bit of draft, but I'm in the gutter, so I was like, all right, I got a lead, so I had going on point, and now I try to move over to help everyone else out and echelon a little bit. I guess just looking from the shadows to the left, I guess I opened up a little bit of gap to that acceleration. Now the guys are on my wheel, and now they're getting there, so someone's going to pull through. But yeah, you can see he's not getting that far away, but at the same time, I'm pretty tired, right? So it's not like I could just gallop across that gap, no problem. Maybe if I was fresh, but I needed some help. Thank goodness the Santa Monica guy comes through, because I could have certainly been hung out to dry there. And I just know this last little itty bitty rise. It's the last little portion. We turn the corner, and then we'll head back to the tailwind finish. Right, so it's going. We're 300 watts, a little bit. He pulls off, and I think, okay, my turn. So I keep it rolling again. This guy's pulling away just ever so slightly, but he's got to hold this power all on his own, right? So he's probably going to fade a little bit. I'm doing my best. I can't say I'm super fresh here. You can tell. I'm certainly not hitting the power numbers I was doing earlier in the day, right? So pull off, and I'm like, all right, someone else got to pull through. Please pull through, someone else, right? They're coming through. He's still in front. He's still just right there. I think Santa Monica might come through, or I might get attacked. By SoCal coming up, but I can't remember. So here I definitely pull off, and I'm like, all right, someone else got to pull through, right? So I start stopping. Yeah, okay, I get attacked, right? So I'm like, okay. That guy goes, and then I sprint, because I know I have to get on this wheel, right? So I sprint, get on Santa Monica. I'm like, if I can just get on Santa Monica, he's probably going to keep on going, and then I could probably use him to get to the finish, right? So we're going, and it's hard, I'm certainly not just oh yeah, whatever, I'll just totally just get on this wheel, I'm digging. Now it's starting to get a little bit of a draft, right? Almost max heart rate. We catch the concept guy, the SoCal guy, went over the top, right? So that was a good move by him, but I was just left out to dry a little bit too much. But I still left a lot in the tank, right? So, when I pulled off and opened myself up to that counterattack, right, I still had a lot left in the leg where I knew I could close this, right? And credit to this Santa Monica guy, right? He starts laying it out, right? It gives me a little bit of chance to break, a little bit of a break. So we come through, and now we're on the start-finish stretch, and I'm like, all right, let's go. So now I sprint, and I'm doing the best I can, and running, hitting almost 700 watts. Oh yeah, cracked 700 for a little bit. Not bad after a long race. And I'm coming up on this SoCal guy, but just a little too late. And so there you go, finish it. And there's Shep's
with Musette waiting for me, and I missed it. But yeah, that was it. That was the Santa Barbara Road Race. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and that's it.